please subscribe. Toy box dreams tonight. Memories unlocked. Toy box dreams for life. Memories unboxed. Toy box nostalgia.
Howdy friends, and welcome back to Toy Box Nostalgia. I'm Douglas. In this video, I'm going to be walking you through the process as to how I created my sewer layer diorama for my Mondo Nickelodeon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Sofubi figures that you can see behind me right there. This project was super duper easy and took about maybe $30 worth of parts and less than 2 hours to build. Before we do so, I'm just going to show you a quick montage of behind the scenes showing me creating this, so check this out. This was pretty easy, right? Just some spray paint, cutting some stuff up, gluing some stuff together. Crafts. If you're new to Toy Box Nostalgia, you'd love to see more diorama building content like this show up into your YouTube newsfeed, then please consider hitting that subscribe button. It truly helps out the channel. If you enjoyed the content of this video, if you're just a fan of Mondo, Sofubi, Nickelodeon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles figures, or if you just like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, please give me a thumbs up. I'd love you so much forever for it. And please drop a comment below letting me know what you think of this diorama sewer layer that I created. This isn't the first time I created one. That's probably why it took less than 2 hours to do. I've probably made 4 or 5 of them now at this point for various types of action figures at different scales. This one being an over-stylized like 8-inch scale. I went for a very over-stylized look, at the same time trying to keep the diorama very gritty looking like those original Playmates toys from the 1980s and the early 90s. So thank you so much for joining me, my friend. Let's take a much closer look. And here it is, my friends. This is the over-stylized sewer diorama that I made for the over-stylized Mondo Sofubi Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is made all from simple project foam board, like the stuff you used to get as a kid whenever you would go to a science fair. I just simply cut it out to these dimensions, specifically so it fits into my shelf. But this piece right here was gray. I purchased this from Michael's and it was about $3. These pieces were white, and the bricks that you see are 1 inch by 2 inch, and they jut out right there. They're all the same foam board material. What I used to cut them was actually this knife right here, just a simple project knife, and you have to use a T-square and a very large cutting mat. The plaster that you see right here, that's just a simple piece of cardstock, which is a light gray. I also purchased that at Michael's, and it came in a book that had many different colors in it, ranging from white all the way to black. So it included all of those wonderful gray colors. The tunnel entrance right here is a flange piece that I purchased from Amazon, and I just simply painted it a stone gray color, which is a matte finish. All of the rivets that you see, all of these rivets up here, all of the rivets on the tubing, and all of the rivets around the sewer entrance are actually stickers that are semi-sphere in their plastic, and they were actually looked like pearls. And I bought those at Michael's also in the section with all of the stickers. After that, I just measured, put them all on, and then when I painted it, all the matte color paint that you see here and here, it turned out great. The exit sign is also a piece of this foam right here. It's just a simple white piece of foam. And for the exit piece, that's made out of vinyl, and it's like a reddish pink color, almost like a magenta color. And I used my Cricut machine to cut that out. Now the pipe itself, this was the trickiest part because that's real tubing right there. I believe it's 1 1/4 inch tubing, and it was from Lowe's. And luckily I've done plumbing work in my house before, so I already had a tube cutter tool. And all of the pieces, that elbow piece right there, there's an elbow piece right there, and then this end piece right here, they were a couple bucks each, also at Lowe's. What I did was I just grabbed the tube, it was about 6 feet in length, and then I went over to where all the parts were and then kind of just stuck parts on it and just visualized in my head what this would look like. Mounting this, however, is really hard and was kind of difficult and required a lot of goofy engineering, I guess, because that pipe is very heavy. The whole diorama weighs almost nothing, but that pipe right there is about 2 pounds, I'd say, maybe 1.5 pounds, and it's being held up by foam, so I had to do some magic, which I'll show you here in a second. Now, the sewer layer entrance, that black that you see right there, is from the same pad that this gray color cardstock for the plaster came from. And I also have 2 other places with plaster. They're hidden right now. You kind of see one up there in the corner, and then there's one back here. I tried to make it match what it looked like in the cartoon, but again, I wanted this to be super over stylized just to match that aesthetic that Mondo went for. Now, as far as the paint goes, I just spray painted all of the brown that you see. There's also a grayish brown, which I have speckled throughout all of the paint, and I'll show you a close-up of that. And then I also use black. Now, whenever I'm speckling paint, I press down the nozzle just very ever so slightly, and then I point the can downwards and just kind of, again, I just wanted this to be super stylized. Now, if I have the light correctly, as you see here, this is one thing that I really wanted to go for. Was the shadows of the bricks. And I just put the bricks sparsely just because I wanted to kind of look like the sewer layer came from a cartoon, but at the same time, I wanted it to be very gritty and disgusting, like those original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action figures from Playmates back in the 1980s and early 90s that Mondo was inspired by to create these Sofubi figures. Finally, that green ooze that you see right there, I just kind of drew that in Photoshop and then just had the Cricut machine cut it out for me. And there's like 3 drips of it, and then there's another droplet right there. I don't know if you could see it or not. Yeah, right there. It's just another piece of vinyl. And you can see the sign here much clearer now because it's definitely 3D. You can see the shadow. And let me show you now the rest of the plaster and how I actually mounted the tube here. Okay, you see those washers right there? Those washers are glued on both sides, as you see right there also, and right there, of the foam. And I drilled the holes in the foam just using a drill, a very small drill bit. And then I lined these up so that the bottom of the washer, the inside ring, was flush with the bottom of the hole. That way when the screws went through, whenever they rested down, and this puts downward pressure on it, the pressure was going on the washer instead of the actual foam board. And you could see, you probably see in there, they're just screws. I kind of lucked out. The color matched the paint color for this tube perfectly. And there you can see more plaster right there on the back and another screw. There's no washer on that side, but there is on the back side. The reason why there isn't one right there is because obviously you could see the brick. That'd be kind of hard to do. So here's a good shot of the rear of the sewer layer diorama. You could see there's some tape on this, and this is again just a piece of black paper, like paper stock, or cardstock rather, and there's some tape on there just to hold it on while the glue dried. I could probably take the tape off, but I just put glue around the ring of the flange on this side and put the paper right onto it, and yeah, you could see it worked out great. So here's an example of what that looks like with the screw in the washer. The screw is in fact resting on the washer. I only put hot glue over it just for stability, and there's actually hot glue on the back of all of the washers. They're actually hot glued onto the actual diorama, and you can see I have some glue, extra glue right there, kind of just for additional support for those screws right there. One cool feature about this that was unintentional is it's kind of like Snake Mountain, where I found out with my wife, if I talk into this end of the tube and she puts her ear over there, even if I whisper, it sounds like I'm standing right in front of her. It's kind of cool. But this is how I connected the actual tube, the sewer pipe, as you see right there, to the diorama. I cut a very small piece. You can see it's about maybe 1.5 inches of that same 1 1/4 inch tube, and just put it into one end and made it stick out on the other side. And then I put hot glue around this, and I don't know if I could show it to you. Yeah, you can kind of see the glue in there. There's glue on the actual elbow itself, connecting it to the foam. And then there's glue around this piece right here. And again, this is like super stable. Like, I'm not worried about this falling at all. It hasn't even like started drooping or anything like that. So it worked out really well. Again, it feels very stable. Like, I'm not worried about it whatsoever. Okay, so here's a close-up of the paint. You can see the grayish brown inside there and all of the black speckling. I tried to put a lot of black in there just to make it look very gritty, almost like there's some sort of mold problem. Again, just to match that crazy, gnarly look that those original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action figures from the 1980s and early 90s look like. But then you can see that I connected the plaster that you see right there, and there's a piece of plaster up there, and then there's one over there, just using paste. And I did it after I had already spray painted the whole thing. So the whole project is about, I'd say, $30 in materials, and took me just under 2 hours total of work. It took maybe like 4 or 5 days, maybe a week to get it done, just because I was waiting for paint to dry and I was very busy in my personal life. But the actual work itself, honestly, was less than 2 hours. And it came out looking like this, which I think looks fantastic. I think it looks awesome. So let's see what it looks like with some turtles in it. Yeah, so that's it. That's what it looks like with some Ninja Turtles in it. I think it looks pretty rad. Again, it only took like 2 hours and like $30 worth of materials to do. As long as you have the patience. One thing I would like to say for anyone that's getting into diorama building and is using this foam board stuff, absolutely buy a very large metal T-square and change your blades often and practice a lot. You're not going to cut perfect straight lines even with the T-square and the cutting mat, the big huge Friskers cutting mat. But learning how to cut straight lines takes a lot of actual practice. And I learned that the hard way. I wasted a lot of foam, and I wish that I didn't, but at the same time, you got to learn somehow. And I was buying the foam, like all of the white colored foam, from Amazon, and I think it's like a 24 pack or something for like $58 or something, which is cheap if you think about how much they cost individually at Michael's unless they're on sale. I pretty much almost always wait for sales at Michael's, or whenever I desperately need something, or I just need something in a hurry and I'm impatient and I go and buy something. My wife is always there with the Michael's app to say, hey, you want me to look for a coupon? I'm like, hell yeah, baby. So yeah, just watch out for coupons and, just have fun making this stuff. This was so much fun to make. And that original that I made with the yellow paint, I didn't like it very much, so I decided to go back to the drawing board, and I chose this brown color just because I wanted the whole diorama to not take away from the actual beauty of these products. Like, the sculpt of these is so fantastic. These are just, I think, honestly, these are my absolute favorite figures that I've ever owned in my life. The first design didn't have this wall purposefully just because of how large these are, and I wanted them to be able to have the freedom to be spaced out on my shelf. Again, the dimensions of this are the same exact dimensions of my shelf. So let's go ahead and put this into the shelf and see how it fits. Okay, so here it is, my friends. My measurements weren't perfect like they were the first time just due to the extra piece right here. You can see it actually is on the outer edge. I didn't anticipate that. That was an accident on my part. Also, the tube itself sits higher than this. You can see this is flush with the shelf. Everything fits kind of perfect except that tube, and I did have to cut it. By the way, this is what the cutting tool looks like. And I used it while I was in there. That's how easy this thing is to use to cut this pipe. But the one problem that I have now is I'm gonna have to address that hole, and that's okay. I have quick fill. I'm gonna put some quick fill on it and probably just hit it with spray paint one more time, and that hole will be addressed. But this looks awesome to me. I'm very excited about the way that this looks on this shelf, and I love the over stylized nature right there. Now the light, you can see the light up there. That light I also have down here, and there's one over here, and there's one up here. You can see all four of my shelves lit up there. Those are really cheap. They were on Amazon. They're USB powered, so they just plug into a USB 4-way adapter that I have in the wall, and they are controlled by this little button right here. You can turn it off just like that. If you hold it in, it'll dim, which looks really nice. I think that looks awesome like that. Perfect amount of lighting for filming it. So I'm definitely going to keep this up here. I think this looks great. I think unfortunately I'm going to have to make a second one because Baxter Stockman is coming out I think in July. So I'm going to have to make a shelf down there and make another one of these. And I'm thinking of doing it in a really strange color, like maybe a dark blue or something like that, just to differentiate between. I'll put the villains down here, and I'll put, keep the protagonists up there at the top. But yeah, that's my cheap and dirty and quick sewer layer diorama for the Mondo Sofubi Nickelodeon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action figures. Please let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, my friends.